Hi, and welcome back to another segment of Terminating Low Voltage Cables. Hey, I'm Ron with Ideal Industries, and welcome to my shop. And in this segment, we're going to terminate a modular plug on the end of a Category 5E cable. And this takes a little practice. I'm going to tell you, the first one you should do is not the one in front of the customer. Go home, I tell everybody, with a box of connectors and a hunk of wire, and put one on and cut it off, and put one on and cut it off. And there's nothing in the standards saying that you can't make your own patch cords. As a matter of fact, we sell a lot of little mod plugs every year. And it's for technicians who, for whatever reason, are out of patch cords on at the end of the day. They'll make one up, or they want a very specific length. They can do that as well. So you can certainly make your own patch cords, but it's important to make sure you do it right. And we'll step you through some of the procedures on how to do that. And I'm going to start with a little close-up on the mod plug itself here, and give you some insights of what actually is going on inside the plug and what we want to see happen. Looking closely at the modular plug and how it's put on the category cable. And one tip, by the way, would be to make sure if you buy Cat 5e cable, you ought to buy Cat 5e plugs, and vice versa. If you've got Cat 6, you should be Cat 6 plugs. They need to be ready for whatever the cable they're putting on. When you look at a modular plug, and you look at the back end of this, there's an opening back here that essentially allows the cable to enter the back of the plug. Now, on top of that is a plastic piece that, as the tool, as it crimps the plug down, is going to drive that plastic on top of this outer jacket and provide some strain relief. So when we get done, that plastic's got to be, that outer jacket's going to be underneath the plastic and all the way down. Now, in category cables, when we terminate, we're basically allowed to leave untwisted roughly a ½ inch of cable per pair. So from here, this part of the plug to the very end of the plug, that distance is roughly that ½ inch we're allowed to be untwist. Now, right behind the pins is a slot, and that is actually a secondary strain relief that can be driven down on top of the conductors. The tool we're going to use right now won't do that, but that's what it is. And then they have the gold pins sitting right here as well. Now, the gold pins are kind of important because when you buy plugs, they can be rated for solid or stranded wire. And technically, a plug rated for stranded should only be used on stranded cable. A plug rated for solid actually can be used on either. This one little tip is pretty important because I've run across lots of folks over the years that I think my crimping tool's a piece of crap, or the tester's got to be wrong, and they're making plugs or patch cords up with stranded plugs going on solid wire. And the way we tell the difference between the two is we have to look at the little gold pin in the side of the plug. In this one here, there are actually 3 little teeth in the bottom of the pin. And that is a plug rated for solid wire. Here, you'll see that there are actually only 2 teeth in the gold pin, and that indicates to me that it is rated for stranded wire only. And that's how this, really the only way to physically tell the difference between the two. And that one little tip will save you a ton of time in the field right there. So we're going to be putting a plug rated for solid on solid Category 5E cable. Now you'll also notice the pins are sitting up. They're a little proud of the plastic housing. And as they get driven on top of the conductors, they'll be down below the body. And I'll warn you, as the dies were out in your crimping tools, they don't crimp all the pins evenly, so make sure that they're all the way down. So in this properly terminated plug we're looking at, the back end here is looking good. We've got the outer jacket underneath this back strain relief. There's our ½ inch, that looks pretty good too. All the pins are down like I need them to be. And then if I look right here at the very end of the plug, I can see there are all the conductors, see that clear front. And if all that looks good, and hopefully I've got the wires in the right spots, it should work just fine. And I'm going to show you next how to actually terminate that plug on that wire. I'm going to terminate the Category 5E plug onto the Category 5E cable for you now, and the tools we're going to use to do this with are again a UTP or category stripper to strip the outer jacketing. We need again a pair of snips to cut out the nylon ripcord out of the cabling, and then we'll need a crimping tool that will actually crimp the connector for us. And with this particular tool, it'll do RJ11s and the typical RJ45 format you see for Category 5E jacks as well, or plugs I should say. So first thing we need to do is to remove about 2 inches of this outer jacketing. And again, I'm going to basically just use my Category 5E stripper, open it up, get about 2 inches there, and again, once, maybe twice with the stripper is all you got to do, and then to remove the stripper, don't remove the jacketing with the stripper, and it again pop and break it, and it'll strip the cable very nicely for us. Again, there's this nylon little rip cord in here. We're going to cut this out of here. And the first thing we're going to do when we go to make the connection up is I need to separate the pairs. And you'll notice that if you look at the end of the wire here, every pair is naturally laying someplace around the outer jacket. And wherever it's naturally laying, I'm going to fold them into 4 little corners like that. And that one little tip will really help the conductors lay properly. Now the next thing we have to do is untwist the pairs. Again, we don't want to untwist any of the cabling inside the jacketing. We just want to untwist what's on the outside. So I'm going to pinch it right there pretty good and grab hold of a pair and untwist it right down to the jacket. Now the conductors will be a little kinky or bent like that on you. Just take your fingers like this and straighten them and move on to the next pair. And I'm basically untwisting all 4 pairs right down to the jacketing. And you know, over the years I've seen a lot of interesting ways of untwisting of the pairs, but I'm going to tell you the best way to do this is by hand. And we want nice straight conductors. We're going to leave them in their 4 little corners. You're going to see that some of these are twisted more than others, and there's a reason for that. It helps with our noise or our crosstalk problems. And again, untwisting of the pairs is the number one thing you don't want to do, and we're only going to be allowed a 1/2 inch of untwisting when we get done making this connection up. And there are my 4 pairs, and they are untwisted and in the right positions. Now, we get to make a decision on how you want to wire the mod plug. Do you want to do 568A or 568B? And we won't get into those wiring schemes here, which one you should pick. But I'll say I'll do a 568B. And with that, in a B format, the white, orange, and orange pair have to be on the left side of me as I look at it. And I'm going to fold this out almost like I would a deck of cards. But I'm not going to lay this white, orange, and orange over here like this, because the conductors were crossing things and things just aren't going to lay flat. I tell you the best thing to do is take this white, orange pair and rotate the orange pair until it is on my left over here. And I'm just going to lay these conductors in the wiring scheme. 1, 2 is white, orange, and orange. White, green is the 3rd pair. Then we're going to lay in our 3rd conductor. Then blue, white, blue over top. Green's on the other side. And it should be white, brown, brown. And I fan them out in the right color sequence from left to right. And I'm going to just, I'm going to simply just pinch these a little bit right here. I'm going to go out past the jacketing, maybe about a 1/4 inch, pinch everything flat. That allows me to take these conductors now and move these a little closer together. And I'm going to simply fold them out like that. I'm going to bring these this way. But since I got everything pinched flat right here, everything should stay in its right order. And then I'm going to turn it like this, take my other hand and grab it like that, and then go back and forth a couple times and pull it straight out. And then I'm going to grab it one more time. Instead of going back and forth, we're going to give it a little bit of a twist. And they should be laying in there pretty nice and flat when you get done doing that. And now I'm going to double check the color sequence, because the time to double check that is not after you've cut them too short. Because if you cut them short, cut them off at a 1/2 inch, and it's not in the right sequence, you might as well just start over. And they look like they're in the right sequence there. And now I'm going to head and trim them. Now again, we're allowed to leave about a 1/2 inch, and folks, you can always trim a little more off. So if you gauge, what side of a 1/2 inch are you might cheat to the 5/8 side. So I'm going to give myself a good 1/2 inch and trim the wire straight across. Now when we go to put them in the mod plug itself, you'll notice that the white orange is on my left. When I pick up the plug, the gold pins are facing me. So white orange is on my left, the gold pins are facing me, and I just insert them right into the plug like that. Now I want to make sure the gray jacket is underneath the string relief like I want it to be. Okay. I want to make sure the conductors are all the way through, and can I see them all the way through the front of the plug, and I believe it's ready to be crimped. Now we're going to crimp that inside the tool here, and the connector will load right in the front die of the tool, just like that. Now the connector will only go in one side of the tool, so that you know you got it in the right place. And when we go to crimp this, we don't want to be pulling the cable to one side or the other. We want to be straight up and down on it. And if anything, I'm going to push this cable into the connector, or into the tool, so I know it's in there and bottom them out. And then I'm going to simply squeeze this down. When you squeeze this down, it drives the pins down and makes a connection for us. And when we get done with the finished product here, I can see that my gray jacket is underneath the strain relief like I like it to be. I've got my conductors all the way through the ends of the wire. The gold pins are all down like they're supposed to, and I can see all the conductors through the clear front, and it looks like it's good. And that's 1/2 of a patch cord, and you would make the other side exactly the same way. And if I've done this side here in a B format, the other end would also be in a B. And if it's A, they'd both be A. The only variation from that is what they refer to as crossover cables, where a technician would do an A on one side and a B on the other. And but there you have it. There's a properly terminated Category 5E plug. And join me next time in a segment of Terminating Low Voltage Cables. I'm Ron with Ideal Industries.